What's up, video professionals? This is the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. Here in Atlanta, Georgia, I am Adam Johnson.
And here in Greensboro, North Carolina, Dan Ray.
We're trying something that I don't even know why I'm bringing it up because it probably won't work.
Well, you mentioned video professionals, so there's a question in the air.
Yes. Are we?
No,
not even a little bit. I did post a video on YouTube of one of our rants that initially got this whole conversation started. It was too long, and everybody said so. So I made it shorter, and that made it better, I think.
It did.
So there'll probably be more rants coming.
I mean, that's what YouTube's for, right? It was built for rants.
It is, but like not too long ones.
No.
These are the things we learn.
God help you if your rant is more than three minutes. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Absolutely true. So it's been like 2 weeks since I've heard from you. You were out and about last week. So what you been up to?
Well, last week I was, I was out and about. I was at this is so fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. I was at a week-long conference on real estate data standards. That
does sound so interesting.
Right? I know it's an expression of how weird I am that I do find that totally fascinating. But there was no music involved, and I actually missed the karaoke night. I was busy entertaining some customers, so I didn't even get to go to karaoke. But the guy I was there with, the coworker that I went with, did go to the karaoke. I said karaoke. And it was his second part of the evening, and he actually stumbled down the stairs coming off stage from singing something by Rammstein. That's all I know about that. And probably retore his ACL. Flew home the next day with a torn ACL, like left the conference early because, rough. I can't even imagine.
That's not great.
No.
Not great.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you what is great.
What's great?
The Line 6 HX Stomp.
Ooh, yeah, you've boarded it up, and
I have. So I had I had a little extra money laying around, and I was like, you know what? It's time to make this thing proper. So, I got the Shure GLX 16D wireless unit, which our other guitar player already had, and everybody that I know that has one swears by them. I was not successful with my G10S experience, so I got one of those on Craigslist for a steal of a deal, roughly $200 below retail.
That's great.
Felt pretty good about that.
And that is really the pro standard, that unit. It's top of the line. Yeah,
as far as the pedal-based tuner / wireless, that is the one. So got one of those, and then threw down a little extra money for a couple of other bits and bobs. One of them being the on-stage pedal board, which is like 18 and a half inches. But it came with a carrying case. It's basically cold rolled aluminum. It is very robust, and it was very affordable. It's like $40 on Amazon.
Yeah.
I really wanted.
Came with Velcro.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. I wanted to get the Pedal Train Nano. That's really what I wanted, but I couldn't justify spending over $100 for something I could get for a third of what they were charging.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of space in between everything, which isn't the worst thing in the world.
Sure.
But everything's all set up. I got one of those non-latching 2-button controller deals and got it mapped to kind of select my presets and stuff. And the power source that I got, the custom one, comes in tomorrow, and I'll have a full-fledged board. And I'm super excited.
That's awesome.
Not have to carry my flipping Helix in the PT Pro road case with the wheels on it.
Wow.
So this will be a big upgrade.
That's good. I'm carrying the Helix LT in the Helix backpack.
Yep.
And that's pretty manageable. There are places I play where there isn't, I have to be kind of creative to get enough floor space to lay it down. I can't imagine, I graduated to it from a 48-inch pedal train.
Yeah.
Which was absurd. It was absurd. It was ridiculous. But even before that, I was on a 32-inch, I think, and that was a long time on that. And so Helix is much smaller. The LT is much smaller than what I came to it from. I can hardly imagine having all that power in, 18 inches of space. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. 8. Yeah, that's what she said. The main thing is the compactness, and a lot of times because we split center, having a pedal board up front isn't always feasible. But I think this will allow it to be more feasible.
Good.
So we've got something coming up this weekend and then next weekend as well. So I'll be able to put it through its paces, but I'm very optimistic that this will be the thing that makes my life a little bit easier. And that's all we're after in this world, you know?
It really is.
Do you have any other fun developments?
I do, but I want to hang on to it for when we're more into the meat of the thing. Now, you said you have something coming up next weekend. Why don't you tell us a little about that?
So this coming weekend, and that's actually a part of what we're going to talk about this evening.
Well, so then there we are, aren't we? Here we are.
We're basically there.
Yeah.
But the one after that is just a standard high school reunion. The only tricky part with that is that there is a dad band from the high school that's quote unquote opening for us. So there's some logistical challenges there because they want to bring amps and they want to do all of these things. And we're going to play ball, as they say. This is my high school. It's their 30-year reunion. My 20-year reunion is actually next year. So, and it's close by. It's like right by my parents' house. So I'm willing to play ball for this one.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, so
there you go.
We're going to keep it short and sweet. You know, that's what you guys are after. It's just, you know, and Dan and I have been talking, you know, we look through a lot of different things and metrics with what is going on with the stuff that you guys like to listen to. And, you know, our numbers around kind of basics, general businessy things, kind of getting started things have been the things that resonate the most with you guys.
It really is amazing. You know, the top 10 probably most listened episodes are interviews, and then ones that were from early on that are like song selection, I think is number 2 lifetime most downloaded and listened to episode. Getting gigs and building relationships with venues is right up there. Starting up a band, I think episode 2, Podception we called it.
Yep.
Right. You know,
and we actually we had somebody post in the group today asking about, you know, how do I command myself on a bigger stage? And I referred her back to episode 5, which is the body moving stagecraft one.
That's right.
So
we covered a lot of stuff. And what we've noticed by what's come to the top of the statistics is that our listeners seem to be into sort of the meaty how-to, you know, our esoteric ones, the ones that, you know, were chatty and not so full of actionable stuff, did not get downloaded near as often. So learn something there, right?
Yeah. And, you know, different strokes for different folks, I think. And, but we definitely want to play to our base. So
totally.
Here we are.
No, that's what you do.
Yep. So we want to talk today about starting up a new project.
Yep.
Starting from scratch, ground zero, from the very beginning. That is what we're talking about tonight.
Yep, from the ground up.
Yep.
From the floor to the... I'm out of metaphors for starting from the beginning.
This is going great so far.
It really is. We're killing it. We're killing it. And there is a reason why we're bringing this up this week, right, Adam? So what is the thing that you are starting this week?
So, been... As much as we've been talking about different things and trying to diversify the ATL Party Band's brand, one of them was kind of splitting off our 80s project from our 90s. I'm sorry, splitting off our 90s project from the 80s project because we tried to do them together as one thing, and it got kind of confusing brand-wise. So we have created a 90s imprint called Can't Hardly Wait, and they are playing their first show this coming Saturday.
Excellent.
The added thing is that that project is opening for members only.
How perfect is that?
So this gives the agency, quote unquote, the ability to kind of promote the fact that 2 of our bands are playing one event. And it's just, it's been an interesting process, and we're getting closer and closer to getting it all sorted out. So,
and so how much does the personnel overlap between the 2 bands?
100%.
Okay. How much does the costuming overlap between the 2 bands?
Um, I'm not quite sure yet. We
Okay.
haven't quite gotten like this. My intent is to hire a video guy for this weekend to generate promo. But I think the things that will benefit this project will have been the 5 to 6 years of trial and error that we have been through with members only. I think it will make the placement, marketing, and rollout of this project a bit smoother.
Sure.
I think that's really the main thing.
Sure. So given you have no placement, marketing, or rollout, what are your actions around that?
So first off is generating good promo. And then right now, if you go onto ATL Party Band's website, members only generates the most. It's got the most media behind it because it's the one that's been around the longest. So having something in line with the quality of that media will make it easier to pitch it to other groups,
Sure.
Other events and other planners and things like that. The other thing that we're trying to do is doing a reconfiguration and potentially doing some trio stuff. And with the 90s thing, that's totally doable. With the 80s stuff, it's a little bit more challenging, but not too bad. So, for us, it's a matter of not necessarily starting from scratch because we do kind of have a foundation that we're building on, but the aesthetic, the branding, the song selection, all of that stuff is kind of new, and it's definitely it's a work in progress. And one of the things that has been just insanely valuable and something that I appreciate so much is that I've had the ability to reach out to other members of our group who are doing this kind of music, and they have been very generous with their information and sharing. And it's been cool to just kind of make connections with people in other states. I've made contact with 2 90s bands in particular, one in the Chicagoland area, the other one in the Baltimore area, who have been super helpful and just very encouraging. So it's been really cool.
Awesome.
And we had our first rehearsal last week, and our next one is tomorrow night, and we had so much fun. I think just just having the same guys in the same room playing new material was just a real shot in the arm for us creatively and just kind of vibe wise. It was a lot of fun.
Great, that's great.
I'm super pumped about it. I think it's going to be a good time, and as much as I love the 80s tunes, the 90s stuff was, I was in high school during the 90s. So all of that music resonates with me a lot more. So I can't wait. I hope it goes well. I can't hardly wait. And we've actually used that in our promo. We can't hardly wait for the show on Saturday.
Right.
It's good branding. Good job, me.
Good job.
Pat myself on the back.
Good job, you. There really is this thing about new project energy. It's the beginnings are neat.
Yep.
Beginnings are neat, and there's a lot to do, and there's a lot to focus on and think about, and you put your attention around it and your energy behind it, and new ideas just come flowing out of you in a way that, like, for a project that's been up for a few years, it's sort of calcified. It's got its way. It's done things and marketed things, and it doesn't mean you're not creative about it, but there's just some, even a new thing kind of has to break the old before it can be new, and versus a brand new project, there's like just nothing, and you're creating from scratch, from thin air, and it's really great.
Yeah. Like you were saying, like, oh, well, we can look at things differently because it is, even though it's the same personnel, different brand, different environment, different audience. So, the thing that I'm enjoying is that we're doing a lot more hip hop and like R&B stuff.
Fun.
So flexing a different set of muscles vocally.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on a medley right now that's got like No Scrubs and No Diggity.
Awesome.
And Gangsta's Paradise and Pony and like all of these songs that I really, really love that I've never had an opportunity to sing. It's been a lot of fun.
That's good. We do Gangsta's Paradise and it kills.
Yeah.
Every time.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. It's been great.
Yeah. Very good.
So what about you?
Well, so, I've been doing the solo acoustic thing for about a year, maybe a little more than a year now, in a few different sort of modes. And
like Aeolian,
yeah,
and Dorian.
Yeah, like the hurricane. Yeah, that I almost called it a tornado, but it's bigger than a tornado was.
Yeah. Ocean tornado.
Yeah, water
plus other things.
Water spinner.
Yeah.
And so that's been all good, and I've been, kind of trying to be creative about that and thinking of new things to do. And simultaneously, I've noticed that a few of the players in my market who do both band and solo acoustic, some prominent people, have picked up with a female singer and have made an acoustic duo act. And I just noticed that, and I don't particularly, have any designs to do that necessarily. And then one day the fiddler for Viva La Muerte, which is a band that I've been a pickup guitarist with for quite some time now, reached out to me. She and I harmonize on quite a few songs in that band, and asked if I'd like to put something like that together with her. And so we have been, and we've now rehearsed twice. Her name is Taylor Cold Iron.
Yeah.
And so the name we're going with is Cold Iron Ray.
Okay.
We think is pretty cool name. Pretty good name. The problem is I made a little logo in, just because I needed to put our name on something, I opened up Pages and made a little text art logo that when you look at it, you're like, that is clearly a law firm. So that's not great. Provisional logo, temporary logo, that I don't even really want on anything. We rehearsed now twice, and we have about 11 songs stage ready, including some really, really killer duet harmony things. We totally crush Africa by Toto.
Yeah.
We got Stop Dragging My Heart Around together in an epic fashion at our last rehearsal, and a bunch of others. She, here's the thing about this young lady. She is, she's 20.
Okay.
She's 20. And so most of my repertoire is older than her. And so she, to her credit, and this is really my only criteria for working with people almost ever, is that she comes having done the work. She by God learns the songs.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, she didn't really know the name Stevie Nicks. It's hard for me to fathom, but it's true. I also had Dreams on our list, and that one was one too many for her to get to know. We're saving that one for next time. But the harmonies between us have always been good in this other band. And the song that we did it on there was Friend of the Devil, because Viva La Muerte is essentially a Dead tribute band with a lot of originals that are very Dead-like. But we covered Friend of the Devil, and she and I harmonized with the lead singer for that. So we didn't even have to rehearse that. We just nailed it. And then a bunch of others. And so I'm literally starting up a new project right now, and it's really great. It's really exciting and really interesting. And she and I are texting like all these ideas and song ideas, and she keeps surprising me. As I was driving home today, she texted, "We need to do Horse with No Name."
Okay.
And I was like, "You are 20. How do you, what?" There's no reason you should know that song.
It wouldn't be the first America song I'd pick.
No, it's good harmonies though.
Yeah.
So, so that was the conversation. Then, I went ahead and made a bad logo. And then I thought, I seem to recall somebody advising that we have like a whole branding conversation before starting.
Oh, yeah. I can't recall who that was.
You may recall something about that in episode 4 of some podcast somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah. So, we had that conversation, and we are clear. A couple of things. We are very diverse in what we cover. We are not locked into being like party band, but we're also not going to limit ourselves to just, pretty harmony stuff. There'll be some energy to it. And, we're going to kind of play with, our ages and our sizes. I'm also quite large and she's quite small. So that's going to be part of what's fun about us, is like that. And then I was able to take all those things and go to a friend of mine, former coworker of mine, who is an artist and designer and does like hand-drawn vintage sort of things, and commission a logo from him that, you know, draws from all those things. And I've seen his work, and I have complete faith that he's going to come up with something that I couldn't have possibly predicted, but totally nails what we've determined. At our rehearsal this last week, I took a bunch of video, and I'm busy assembling it into something that can be promo-y. I need some, you know, I need that logo, and I need probably to build maybe a couple other pieces of brand collateral to do that. But, but, you know, very soon we'll have some promo stuff up. We have a Facebook page that has almost 100 likes on it now. And,
the first 100 are always easy. It's the, you know, it's the rest of them stuff. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. The first 100 are almost free. I think Clanky Lincolns gave a t-shirt to our 100th liker at our very first gig, or second or something. Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. Anyway, so, you know, there is something very special about starting up a new project and thinking through who you're going to be and what you're going to do and how it's going to sound and what the instrumentation is going to be. And, you know, Taylor plays guitar some. She's a fiddler, really. So we tried out, Stop Dragging My Heart Around with her on guitar so I could hit those lead licks in the intro and the part in the middle, because they're just so tasty. And then when that wasn't exactly working, we put her on fiddle to hit those lead licks, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like a new opportunity to play around with new instrumentation, and it's just all really exciting. It's really exciting, and an opportunity for me, I think, to walk my talk a little bit in terms of the order in which the branding thinking needs to get done. I very nearly didn't walk my talk, but I walked back. I walked it back to my talk, and so we're good to go on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys have already started gigging out, though, haven't you?
No. Well, she came and did 3 or 4 tunes with me at a solo acoustic show I had a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And that went really well. And we had some of her family there and a couple of friends, and all my regulars were out for that. So, so they're now probably her regulars too. And, so, and she and I've had good stage energy for a long time now. And, it's going to be, she's a lot of fun. She's really good to work with. And part of my mission with her that, I told her is my secret plan for her is to develop her into a front person. She's currently, fairly comfortable in her skin on stage, but she doesn't stand 10 feet tall and breathe fire like a front person needs to.
Yeah. And more of like a sideman kind of.
Yeah. She'll let me talk to the crowd. She's not going to be part of that. Like, I want to get to where we're joking with each other on mic and talking to the crowd together. And, you know, that's sort of the playfulness of the energy that I want to have. And, she's not quite loose enough to do that yet. So, but she'll get there. She'll totally get there. And she can see that. We've talked about that, and she can see that she could get there and doesn't quite see, you know, I think in part that's just a matter of stage hours under your feet.
Totally.
That kind of comfort.
You got to be terrible at something so you can learn to be not so terrible at it. I think that's how that saying goes.
Jake the dog said that, didn't he? I think so.
Yeah, in Adventure Time or some sort of. It's not quite.
Sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something.
Yeah. Totally. So, I just wanted to kind of dovetail that conversation into something that literally dropped in our inbox roughly 20 minutes before this episode was recorded. Our good friend Ryan O'Leary, who I believe has reached out to us before, sent a message to us with a couple of 3 questions in particular, all around rehearsals, practices.
Perfect.
So can you give any tips about band practice? How long and how often do you recommend? And can you give a rundown of how you learn a new song as a band?
Cool.
So I'll go ahead and I guess lead off there since we've been kind of in the middle of it. How long and how often really kind of depend on the level of competency of your players and the cohesiveness of your live show. You know, once you guys kind of have something going and you've got like a vibe established, you may not need to get together quite as often. You know, we try and fail regularly to get together for rehearsal at least once a month. But like for this gig coming up, we've done 2 weeks in a row, which is very atypical for us. And when we are in our busy season, we don't rehearse at all. We are not a band that does a ton of rehearsing. And then the rundown of how we learn new songs. Typically, if we have decided to add a new song, we'll send out some sort of reference. And if there's a track to it, I will go to karaoke version, and I've created learn files on a Google Drive for all parts. So there's a guitar learn part, there's a bass learn part, and there's a BGV learn part that I send to all my players. And then typically we will either we will practice it at rehearsal, or we will try it at a sound check for a show. That is how we have typically onboarded new music. And with this particular, big chunk of songs coming up, we just sat in a room and cranked them out. And once we get that established, we'll probably have to have a couple more rehearsals before we can do like a full 275-minute set kind of evening. But we are well on our way. And typically, my assumption for my players is that if I tell them that we're going to be playing a song at a show on a particular date, that they will show up prepared to play it.
Yep.
And that a simple run through at soundcheck would be sufficient to add it to the set list that night. So that's how we operate.
That's good.
And then quarterly, we might do like a vocal rehearsal, just make sure the harmonies are tight and that kind of thing. But that's kind of more of a tightening the screws type thing that we don't do very often.
Right. I think I would say we're pretty similar. And I think it as you implied, or maybe just said right out loud.
I said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah. It depends on where you are in your sort of band startup life cycle.
Yeah.
When we were first coming together and getting ready for our first few gigs, we were rehearsing weekly, whether we had a gig that week or not. We were our first, we were building a book of songs for the first year. Even while we were gigging, we would be playing some of them, but then have another handful that we were working up. Over the last year or so, as we've gigged much more often, we have only rehearsed when we've gotten bored with the songs we're playing and need to onboard some new ones. That is going to be happening next week. I think the amount of time, and then with the acoustic duo, since that's brand new and we basically have no book, it's going to be weekly rehearsals, or even more often sometimes if we can catch them. Let's see. How long should a rehearsal go? Long enough that you've rehearsed. I think, part of the thing that you're doing in rehearsal, especially if you are not in the practice of gigging, if you're not actively out there, part of what rehearsal is for is to build stamina at standing up and playing.
Yeah.
And because nobody in their practicing of their instrument stands and plays for 3 hours. It's just not a way that you practice in your own house. But when you get together to rehearse, that's part of what it is. You're building the vocal chops that it takes to do a show for that long, 3 or 4 hours. You're building the hand strength, the leg and back, and like just physically what it takes to actually stand there and deliver.
Yeah, totally.
And so your rehearsals should account for that and like any workout, start small and build to where they need to be.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I would add to that is that those early rehearsals are where you're building chemistry with the players.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Kind of learning what makes people tick, and like rehearsal is one of those is an opportunity for you to swing big. Try things out, do something goofy, do something creative or, musically brave to see if you can pull it off.
Totally.
It's kind of a place where creativity can be fostered and harnessed, and you guys can kind of spitball new concepts or creative ways of ending songs or doing transitions and that kind of thing. It can be a really great exchange of ideas. I understand why a lot of people like to quote unquote get together in a room and jam, even though that's not really something that really gets me off creatively. But I understand the importance of kind of creating chemistry between players for sure.
Yeah, I think one really important takeaway from what you just said, Adam, is that you want to make sure the rehearsal room is a zero failure kind of place.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That like no matter how it goes, what we're doing here is learning. There's no, nobody needs to feel bad about anything in there.
Yeah.
Well, I still don't want it to be a feeling bad thing, but you should also be clear that showing up unprepared is a party foul.
Yeah, no. The other thing that we need to kind of hit home is that rehearsal is for rehearsing. Rehearsal is not for practicing.
That's right.
Those things are not the same.
Nope. So
you need to do all of your... Yeah, go ahead.
What is practicing then, Adam? What is that?
Practicing is the thing that you do by yourself where you learn how the song goes. You don't need to be doing... That is time that you are spending making sure that you are prepared to play with other people. That is not something to be done around other people. It is disrespectful to other members of your group to show up to a rehearsal and be learning the song. You should already have the song.
Yep. If you come to rehearsal and make me teach you the song, I don't love that.
No.
If you come a second time and make me teach you a second time, there won't be a third time.
Yeah, those are big problems.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, there are exceptions to that rule. Like if you are, if you've got a sub and he's here for rehearsal, like he needs to know how you play the song, and you've got to figure out, this. I cover this part and you cover that part and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's different from it's in G.
Yeah, 100%.
He needs to come knowing it's in G.
Of course. And there's nothing worse for a band leader than to have somebody walk into a rehearsal and then you realize that they haven't put the work in. One time,
there is one thing worse.
Well, there are very few.
Well, the one thing that's worse is when they walk into the gig and you realize they still didn't put the work in.
Well, so let me tell you a little story.
Please.
When Members Only was just getting started, we got an offer to do like 2 gigs in one weekend and no one was available. But it was like $5,000 on the table.
Wow.
So it was kind of like, I need to figure out a way to make this work. And I should have just turned them both down. This was one of those situations where we were just getting started and I wanted to say yes because I wanted to be the band that said yes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I put together a band, like all players. Nobody was a regular. And I got a recommendation for a drummer and we had talked and he was like, oh yeah, I got this, da-da-da-da. We showed up to rehearsal the first night. And he knew nothing. And we were all standing in the room, like looking at this guy, and he was completely clueless. And that the very next day, I said, "Hey, man, I'm not putting you on these dates. You didn't put the work in, and I'm not willing to risk it." And he had the nerve to come back to me and challenge my assessment of his playing.
Bold.
Yeah, it was bold. And he was like, you need to pay me for these gigs, even though I'm not going to play them. And I said, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you, I think I threw him like $30-$40 for the rehearsal.
Yep.
And it was worth it shelling that money out and making him go away and getting a professional in there because it was very clear from that moment on, like he just didn't understand what it took to do that kind of gig. And so like in your case where you're saying, oh, when they walk into the show and you realize they still haven't done the work, like I wasn't even, we didn't even make it home that night. And I had already, I called 4 other guys and got somebody to fill in for that thing. So, but now he's a tour manager for a very big name country artist that I'm not going to name.
Probably doesn't need to know the music, very well. Does he?
Well, he doesn't have to learn the music.
That's right.
But he's doing fine.
Well, good.
Everybody's good.
We all ended up happy.
Yep. But yeah, it was. I don't recommend that. It was a bad weekend.
No, but listen, one of the things that rehearsal does is it flushes that sort of problem out, so you can deal with it in the room and get things straightened out.
Yeah. It's hard to get people in a room, especially when there's no money exchange. And for some guys, you may have to pay them for rehearsals.
Yeah.
And most of the guys who charge for rehearsals are worth it.
Yes. Yeah.
So don't necessarily write somebody off simply because they ask for one of those things. but that's typically going to be the exception and not the rule. Most people are down to get in a room and play together. These 2 dates that we've got coming up, we've got a sub guitar player, and I wanted just to get in the room, just kind of see what he was about. And the vibe in the rehearsal was awesome. Like everybody had a good time.
Cool.
We were, the mood was light, but the creativity was high, and when you have those moments, last week I was just sitting there going, this is why I love playing music.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
And that felt good.
Good.
Because I've been so stressed out about these gigs, and now I'm kind of like, oh, I don't need to be stressed out about this. This is actually going to be fun.
It's all going to be good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Which is hard for me. As you may or may not have taken from the 67 other episodes that we've done.
I've had a big stress ball.
Yeah. I'm doing better, man.
You are. No, you really are.
We've got a lot of ideas for episodes. You would think that we'd be done by now. But we've got some cool interviews coming up, and I want to do an episode specifically about self-care for musicians, because I think that's an underserved, if not completely unserved, environment for people who do what we do.
Well, and so traditionally musicians take care of themselves in ways that are not, healthy
not very
in a
careful.
broader sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And some of our hosts do that too.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, me neither. But like hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's a really important topic.
100%. Well, I hope that was encouraging for you guys. If you have any questions, do what Ryan did. Email us at coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. If you haven't seen the stuff on YouTube, go check it out. Leave a comment. Give us a thumbs up. If you have done all those other things, but you haven't left us a review for the podcast, go on to your podcast platform of choice and give us a review. We still feel like there's a lot of growth opportunity here, and we think that people like it sometimes. So
seem to
share, so share it.
Surprises me every time, but yes, seem to.
Yep. Numbers, kind of fluctuate and stuff, but, for us, we see the number. I don't know about Dan. I check the numbers every day. I care a lot about this project. I think it's been beneficial for me personally. So I'm definitely invested in it.
I made a spreadsheet to analyze the numbers. Are you kidding me?
It's true. He did. But, just celebrating small victories. This podcast has been, listened to over 11,000 times.
Come on.
Which is pretty incredible when you think about it.
Yep. And from all over the world.
All over the world. All different countries, all different perspectives. It's just, I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity. And while we don't really always know what we're talking about, I appreciate you guys listening to us as if we might.
Well said.
Anyway. Yeah, good vibes all around.
Yep.
Virtual high fives across your podcast distribution service. Got anything else to add?
Just some numbers.
What numbers?
I don't know. They add.
They do. But let's keep adding to them.
Indeed.
More. Always.
More numbers.
Indeed. Well, guys, once again, thank you for your continued support, for tuning in. We managed to get this one in under 40 minutes, so go us.
Boom.
From Atlanta, Georgia, I am Adam Johnson.
From Greensboro, North Carolina, Dan Ray.
You have been listening to the Cover Band Confidential podcast, episode 68. Have a great week.
Bye.